Well, I think we need to, I think if we professionalize the role that teachers play, I think for better or worse, Americans now believe that there are lots of poor teachers. In fact, I don't think there are lots of poor teachers. There are some in the system, and they become, unfortunately, for so many people who are dedicated teachers, everybody points to the poor teachers. We need to fix this, and I think trying to re-professionalize the system, figuring out how we rate and evaluate teachers in a way that's methodical, that understands that classrooms are different, student populations are different, and you can't compare how a teacher does in Palo Alto to how a teacher does in East Palo Alto. That's certainly not a fair situation. So we've got to figure out how to do this, so we do that. And then we've got to make probably the biggest change. We've got to spend more money on young people in this country. Yeah. We have engaged as a country in a giant wealth transfer from people under 15 to people over 65. People over 65 vote. In fact, they're the highest percentage voting demographic in the American population. People under 15 don't vote. And often, parents of poor children under 15 don't vote. We've got to fix this problem. We've created a situation where we're sending more and more money to healthcare entitlement programs. We've driven down the poverty level among old people. That's a good thing. But we've driven up the poverty level among young people. And the future, the people who are going to pay for all of us to have Medicare are young people in this country. So we're going to have to rebalance this and address this issue. And if we don't do it, we won't be the country we aspire to be.
I heartily agree with that. I think your question about what needs to happen in order to make teaching a more attractive profession, I think there are a lot of things that come to mind, but sticking out foremost is that we have, as a society, decided that our problems with our school systems are primarily due to bad teachers. Yeah. And that has provided a rationale for a regime of accountabilities that makes going into the field kind of off-putting to people who would naturally be interested in being teachers. But when you worry that your school's funding could be held accountable to student test scores, or that your own salary could be accountable to student test scores, and other accountabilities that you're are going to be exposed to, maybe out of the very best of intentions. I'm not really impugning intentions here, but I'm just observing that the contingencies that we put around the teaching profession make it a very formidable thing to choose to go into. And at the same time that is going on, we have, as John just pointed out, under-resourced the schools. So we're creating a kind of some pretty powerful horns of a dilemma there between not giving people the resources that they need to sustain schools. When you go into our inner cities, it's difficult to argue that those schools have the resources they need to. People do argue it, but I think it's difficult to be persuasive that those schools have the resources they need to be stable institutions of learning for kids. And at the same time, we're imposing on them a regime of accountabilities that makes going in there and giving it a try a very off-putting kind of thing to do. So I think perhaps out of a mix of pretty good intentions and so on, I don't doubt that so much, but I think the pileup of unintended consequences coupled with the clear under-resourcing in schools has made it a formidable profession to go into.
Yeah, naive reforms of complex social systems yield negative unintended consequences. Yeah. And this is exactly what we've seen happen here.
It's getting better.
It is getting better. It is getting better, Michael.
I have some good news on
that
front.
In California.
Yeah, in California.
California anyway.
Yeah. There's a movement across the country called the Common Core curriculum, and it's a much higher and deeper curriculum, and one that teachers want to teach to. 73% of the teachers said they're enthusiastic about nationwide about the Common Core curriculum. It will end sole reliance we now have in California. All our tests in California are fill in the bubble exam, 4 or 5 choices, closed-end questions, usually a very brief prompt, and then answer a question. That led to sort of scripted textbooks, scripted lessons for teachers. Who wants to be a professional that wants to come in and teach a scripted lesson to a scripted textbook and then get a multiple choice test, which costs $12 per pupil to administer, which is what we spend? And to me, that won't work. So we have embarked on an entirely new curriculum, an entirely new assessment system, which will be computer adaptive, meaning if you are answering harder questions, it'll give you harder questions. And we'll also have extended response and performance exams, an exam where you'll have to evaluate an issue like, say, the pros and cons of nuclear power. So we're on the cusp of a change here. I hope politically we can sustain it, but I think this is the kind of thing well-trained teachers tell me, this is the kind of assessment I would be happy to teach to, rather than the assessment you're now giving me, which I think demeans me and is unprofessional. So I think the country's hopefully at a turning point, and the young people in the room will be the beneficiaries of this.
I want to add to that, Mike, because when you enumerated the many problems California has, I was about to get up and walk out. But now I'm more hopeful, because I think that what we need is the existence of what Larry Cuban used to call pockets of excellence and visions of the possible. I think that what STEP provides is a vision of the possible. That if you're right, we're not going to fill the teacher shortage in California with our 76 graduates in secondary and 23 in elementary. We're not. But what we can do is we can be, and we are, a demonstration site. We can show, we can instantiate really well the principles of a powerful teacher preparation program, which is why we've had colleagues from kind of all over the world come and inquire into STEP for a week in February to learn what it is that we do that produces the kinds of teachers that we produce. So I think that that's our role in the School of Education, and I think that that's our role at this university. And that's why we need you, Julia, and you guys here to become teachers and to continue this work and make a difference.